Hello, welcome to Flourish ICT Academy. Today we are going to be covering another important lesson. This lesson is very useful for you, whether you are here to learn Microsoft Excel, you want to learn data analytics, or something else entirely. The lesson I'm doing today is very relevant on these two platforms, and then also for every other person that you are on this platform right now watching this training, and then you want to learn one thing or the other. Now, in preparing this lesson, I have the beginners in mind. That does not mean that an experienced user is not going to learn something in this class today. So because I'm actually focusing on the beginner, that is why we are taking the journey step by step for you to be able to understand everything we are going to discuss in this lesson today. And if peradventure you have any challenge, when you are trying to practice and you cannot remember how I did something, don't hesitate to actually reach out in the comment section, or you can drop a message for me on the WhatsApp. The data set we are going to be using as well here today, if you need the exact Excel sheet I'm going to be working with, you can also make a request to that as well in the comment section. And if you are looking for data set you can use to analyze as a data analyst, okay, you can actually check kaggle.com. There are a lot of data there that you can use. You can download them and make use of them in order to learn data analysis. All right, and for a link to Kaggle, I will drop that as well. Check the description section of this video. You are going to see a link that will take you directly to Kaggle, and then you can download file there. If you want to use what I'm using currently, then drop a message in the comment section, and I'm going to share the file I am using currently for this class today. Now, what are we talking about today? We are going to be talking about 10 Excel formulas every data analyst should know. There are many tools that we use as a data analyst, okay? But Excel is one of the most important one, especially for a beginner. When you're analyzing, relatively small amount of data, the best tool to use actually is Microsoft Excel. Okay, if you are familiar with Microsoft Excel, other tools that is being used for data analysis like SQL and all other tools that we are using, the programming language, the Python, it will be much more easier for you to be able to grasp those ones by the time we'll get there. So that is why it is important for you to pay attention and watch this video to the end. We are going to be talking about 10 Excel formulas every data analyst should know. If you have not watched all the previous lessons I've done on Microsoft Excel, as well as the lesson 1 and 2 for data analytics for beginners, I want to ask you to go watch those videos. The link to them is also available in the description section of this video. Now, this is the data set we are going to be using today. And then in this data set, as you can see, we have, in column, this column A to column F. On the column A, we have the employee code. Then we have the first name, the last name on column C, employee designation, that's the title, and then employee, the team that each of the employee belongs to, and then the employee salary. This is actually a very small amount of data, but whatever we do with this data, you can do it with any other voluminous data. Okay, it's the same thing you are going to do here today. It's the same thing you are going to do with any other relatively large data to be able to analyze them. Now, this data as well is just 25 rows. You can see I'm just taking you through the journey of the data that I'm going to be using here. So it has 25 rows and then 6 columns. That's the data we are going to be using. Now, let's start with the first one, concatenate. That's the first formula I want to actually discuss in this lesson today. Concatenate. What is concatenate? What is it all about? Concatenate allows you to combine the values of several cells into one. So you can concatenate the value of several cells into one. So what that means is that I want to combine first name and the last name together. If there is any other, maybe like a middle name, you can actually use the concatenate to join them. As a data analyst, this is one of the tools you are going to be using. Okay, you are going to have a data. Remember that you are having data from different sources coming together. So there could be a need for you to join columns together before you go ahead and analyze the data. So that is why we are talking about concatenate as one of the formula that every data analyst should know. You will usually come across this in your journey or in your activity as a data analyst. Now let's go jump straight into it and then see how it works. Remember, if you are going to do that, we are going to be having our result in the G column. And in order to have the result in the G column, if you want to type the formula in Microsoft Excel, you must begin with equals to. So in the cell that is going to contain the answer, you start with equals to. Alternatively, you might come to function and then you want to use function to do it. That is all good as well. If you want to use function, you click on the function, then you're going to have a dialog box that will pop up. Then you delete search for a function. So which function are we looking for right now? It is called concatenate. So you type the function you are looking for and then you click go. Right, you can see it from here. So you click OK, concatenate. Now you're going to have the dialog box giving you argument. This is called function argument. The first column here is the text. The first text that you want to combine, you put it here. Remember, in Microsoft Excel, we are not going to type the text. Rather, we type the address of the cell, the address that contains the cell that we want to concatenate. So in this case now, we want to join the last name and the first name to have a column called the full name. That's what we want to do. So if I want to start from the last name, all I need to do is to click on the column. The last name column is on column C. And right now I'm starting with C2. So I will just click on C2. That has automatically bring out Emmanuel. Now take note of something. You can see that this Emmanuel is having a quotation. When you are dealing with a string, we have different types of data. I'm going to get there in our training in the subsequent one. Now the string data, anytime you are working with the string data in Microsoft Excel, in data analysis, we put them in a quotation. Okay, this is important because by the time we start learning Python as well, you are going to see the reason why when you type a text, it has to be in a quotation. That indicates that it is a string value. Okay, it is a string value. So then you come over to test 2 and then we click on B2. That's Bruna. We want to join the first name and the last name. That will be Emmanuel Bruna. However, you can take a look down here. There is a challenge. What did you notice? Because this is going to be the output. Excel is going to give you a preview of what the output will be. Let's click OK. We are done. If you have additional text to join, then you put it as test 3. Then you are going to have it over there. Now I click OK. So I have the result of the full name here, but they are joined together. There is no space. Emmanuel Bruna. I need a space between Emmanuel and Bruna, just a single space. How do you go about that? So come over to the formula bar. Okay, this formula bar at the top here, then you can go ahead and then put your cursor after the cell C2. Okay, and then you go ahead and put quotation. In Microsoft Excel, we use quotation to indicate a space. So I put space and then I put quotation again, and then I'm going to put a comma to separate that space from the cell B2. Now you can see what we have over here. So this is the formula in order to create a space. If I need multiple space, all I need to do is to do it again in order to have multiple space. So I'll press enter. Now you can see that we have space right now. So we did this by going to the function and use the function to do that. You can as well do it from the cell without clicking on the function. You come over here and you type equals to, then I can type concatenate. Right, I want to show you another way of doing it without going through the function. You can actually do concatenate because I'm going to be using the formula directly from the cell rather than going to the function in this lesson. So by the time you start typing the formula, okay, Excel will give you suggestion of, these are the different CON. Now you can see that these are all different Excel functions. Excel has a lot of functions. So depending on what you are doing and what you want to use, what I'm looking for is concatenate. So I'm going to double click on it. When I do that, then you can see the syntax for concatenate. The test 1, like we did the first time when we used the fx, the function in the dialog box. Remember that we saw test 1, test 2, and then so you type the test 1. For example, if it is going to be B2, and then you type the test 2, comma, then test 2, you type this time around C2, but here because of space you are going to put column, then comma, and then you type the next thing is C2. So you close the bracket and then you press enter. You're going to have the same result as Bruna. This time around we're doing first name, last name. The first one we did last name, first name. So the combination depends on how you want it. So now we have actually done a concatenate here by combining the two columns together into one. So what do you do now? You can drag this one down, autofill, in order to complete for the rest of the data that we are working with today. Oh, this is awesome. So now this is completed. So that's what concatenate is all about. You do for one cell, you autofill for the rest of the cell. Now the second formula we are going to be looking at right now is also very important for you to know as a data analyst, and that formula is called LEN, L-E-N, LEN. So that is the next one that we are going to be looking at. LEN is used in data analysis to display the number of characters in any given cell. Look at this cell, for example. We want to know the number of characters. How many characters do we have here? We use LEN to be able to know. Why do we need to know the number of characters? What's the relevance of the number of characters? It's often used when creating a text with character limit. And believe you have filled a form before where you have the character limit. Now you have the box that you want to fill, and then you have a sugar-like boxes where you are going to write your full name inside. Now, in most cases, the number of boxes that will be made in that form is limited based on whatever decision that they have made. So that is why we actually use LEN as well. You want to create a text with character limit. So you want to know, for example, who has the longest name and what is the longest name here? Who has the shortest name and what is the shortest name here? You can use LEN to be able to know that because it's going to show you the number of characters. Also, let me specify, let me say it here that the LEN function will also count the space along with the number as a character when counting the number of characters. So let's jump into it and see how it works. Then you start with equals to, right? And then the next thing you type LEN. Then you open the bracket, select the text. So this is the text we want to know the number of character, just G2. Then you close the bracket and press enter. So that means the first name here, Emmanuel Brunner, is 14 character, including the space. So let's autofill, and then we can see. Now, okay, the last one is 9. How do we know? So this is what LEN is all about. But beyond this, how do I know who has the, because if this data set is up to 1,000 employee or 10,000 or 15,000, how am I going to know who actually has the longest name, the shortest name? There's another formula you can use over here. It is called MAX. Let's start with max, M-A-X. That's maximum. We want to know who has the maximum number of characters as per the full name here. Then I type max. The next thing I do equals to in the cell, then max, then close, open the bracket. This is the syntax. Number one, where are we checking from? You are going to check through the columns. So the entire series, you are going to look at the range. So we are looking at the range from H2. Okay, that's the top one. Let's take a look at it. Okay, that's fine. H2 to H25. You use colon to indicate the range. H25. Okay, then you close the bracket and press enter. So the longest name, okay, by the number of character is actually 17. So we want to know what's the minimum characters as per the full name. You use the same formula, equals to MIN. Then you open the bracket. You can go ahead and just highlight the entire range of cell that you want to check. You want to check up to 25. Okay, 26 will not be included because that's where we have the marks. And then you close the bracket and then you press enter. Awesome. So we have 9. So you can now see that the maximum the maximum characters as per the full name is 17, and then the minimum is 9. If you have not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and click the subscription button now, and then turn on your notification bell so you can be notified when I upload the next lesson. The third one is SUMIF. I know that a lot of us know what SUM is all about, because if you really don't know what SUM is, then I will advise that you go back and watch all the training I've done on Microsoft Excel so you can actually understand what SUM is. SUM is addition. There is nothing more, nothing less, okay? Harden up. So there's a formula we use to do that in Microsoft Excel. You can do auto sum, you can use function, you can use formula in order to sum up depending on the series of data that you want to sum. What we are looking at in this particular lesson right now is the SUMIF, because there's a condition we are going to be considering. Now, let's look at the data set that we are working with. This data set, you can see that we have employee team, and then we have the salary, and then you have the employee designation. So the team, the different employee team that we have, we want to actually know, we want to analyze their salary. Maybe, you want to know how much is being paid out to the engineering team, how much is being paid out to the production team. You cannot use just ordinary sum to be able to achieve that, because if you do sum, it's going to sum everything together. If you come over here, for example, right now, let's put the formula. We're going to do sum. Let's first of all do sum for everything. Then this is the cell where we are going to be having the total sum, right? Let's do the total sum for everybody, for all the team member. So we're going to do that, and then you go to equals to, then let's just do sum. Remember, you can double click. I'm not going to go to function again. We are going to be working directly from here. Then the sum number, we are going to be summing from, you can just go over to the first cell that you want to sum. This is F2, so you can highlight it up to, okay, up to this point. Yeah, so this is F2 to F25. Then you close the bracket and then you press enter. So you can see from here, this is 1,529,000 euros. Okay, that's for everybody that has been paid out. But now we want to know engineering, for example, or production department. That is when the SUMIF actually comes in. So the SUMIF function is an important formula that every data analyst should actually know about. So now what we are going to be doing this right now is that I'm going to just put the formula. Let's do SUMIF. I title just SUMIF okay, just engineering. Let's put engineering team. We want to know how much is being paid out to engineering team. So come over to the cell that you are going to put the formula, that is F27 this time around. So you remember, you start with equals to, then you type sum, you type your sum if. You already know the formula. You type sum if. Excel is going to give you a suggestion of what you are going to, the formula you want to use, the function. So it depends. I don't know the version of Excel you are using. I'm using 2019, and I believe yours should also be the same. So if you are seeing something different from what you are seeing on my screen, drop a comment in the comment section, okay, of this video. So let me know the version of Microsoft Excel that you are using. So now we click on SUMIF. I double click on it, okay, and then look at the first criteria that you have here. The first under SUMIF options that we have is the range. So you're going to select the range, because the conditional range, that's what we are talking about now. So the conditional range this time around we are looking at is the employee team, because this is where we want to pick engineering to know how much is being paid out to engineering. We want to analyze that. So the engineering team, so you can easily come over, you can see range. That's the first thing we are doing right now. So to do the range, I will select all the series under the engineering, the cells. So this is employee team. Okay, I'm going to do up to this point. So the next thing is that you can see, the next is that you put your comma, it's easier. And then you see the next thing is criteria. What's the criteria? So the condition is what is asking for the criteria now. I want to know the total that is being paid out for engineering team from the team, right? So the cell series is E2 to E25. From there, we are picking out the criteria for engineering. Remember, you have to be case sensitive when you are doing this. And in addition to that, engineering is a string. When you are working with data, we have different type of data in data analytics, okay? You have number, you have string, you have Boolean, okay? So you need to understand the rules of the game when it comes to this different type of data and how to use them. So this time around, this is a string. Engineering is a text value. So that is a string. We call it string in data analytics. So what you are going to do next right now is that since it's a string, you are going to put a quotation. So it's expected to be in quotation. So I'm going to open up a quotation and type then engineering. Okay, and then I close the quotation. That's criteria, remember, from here. So the next thing I'm going to do is to put comma. So now sum range. So what are the cells, the range of cells that contain where you have all the salary? That's the sum range. So we have the employee salary here. So I'm going to select all the all the employee salary. So from here I can just highlight, and instead of you to highlight the way I'm doing, if you know the beginning and the end of the cell, you can just say F2 column to the last cell, so up to F25, right, like you have here. So but I prefer to do it this way. There are different ways of doing it depending on what you are doing. Then I close the bracket. Now we have fulfilled all the criteria that we need to do under the sum if. So the next thing you need to do right now is to press enter. Okay, so you can see this is the value. So the engineering team, the amount that is being paid out to engineering team alone from this data set we are working with is 785,000 euros. So you can just go ahead and put your comma style, and then if you need to assign the euro symbol for currency symbol, you do that. So you can see engineering team. The way we've done for engineering team, you can actually go ahead and also do for production team. And then I think we only have two teams here, engineering and production team. So this is how to just analyze, use the sum if to be able to know from your volume of data. You can actually easily analyze this kind of scenario using the sum if. Now let's go to the fourth one. Okay, I'd like you to try for production, okay, before we go further. And then if you are able to do it or you have any challenge, don't hesitate to drop that in the comment section, or you reach out via the WhatsApp number that is on the beginning of this video or at the end of it, and then I'm going to respond to you appropriately about that. Now let's go to the fourth formula, which is days and network days. In data analysis or in Microsoft Excel, generally we use days to determine the number of days between two calendar dates. Okay, you want to know the number of days between two calendar dates, and then for example, now if you work in an organization where you release the product and then you have an expiry date for that product and you have a production day, you want to know how many days between the production date and then the expiry date. You can use days as a formula in Microsoft Excel to be able to know the number of days. So you want to know the product life cycle, the contract period. Maybe you have series of employees that are giving contract, you know the starting date, and you know when their contract is going to end. You want to know the number of days they are going to actually work before the contract will end. That is when we use days, okay, as or network day as a formula in Microsoft Excel to be able to know that. So it is very important formula as well that you should know as aspiring data analyst. Okay, now what about network days? What's the difference between the two? Before we go into demonstration of it, let me just tell you that network days, okay, is more useful counterpart of days. Okay, that one is used to calculate the number of working days between 2 days. So this one is going to exclude the holiday, so no weekend will be included. So you might want to know the number of working days, and you just want to know the total number of days. So depending on what you are working with, the requirements of what you are trying to achieve with your data. So I'm going to use the two of them so for better understanding. Now let's say that we have an employee that was employed on the 3rd of January 2022, and then the contract end date is going to be on the 20th of December 2025. We want to know the number of working days, both weekends and then the total number of days, and then excluding weekends. So you can use that. We are going to do days here. Let's just put the days as the headings. So days, and then over here we're going to use network days. Remember, I said that network day is more useful counterpart of days to calculate the number of working days, excluding holidays, okay, weekend. That's what the network day is all about. So between these two dates, now we'll go ahead and calculate this. We want to know the number of days. Remember, you start with equals to in the set that will contain the formula, and the next thing you start typing your formula. As I type DA, Excel is going to give me different suggestions. So I'll go over to days. You can see now when it comes to date, you have a date function, you have date value, you have date diff range, you have day, you have days, you have days 360. There are a lot of functions in Microsoft Excel. So I'm just focusing right now on the 10 most important Excel formula that every data analyst should know. So we go over to double click on this, and then you're going to see all the options that we have there. The first thing it's asking us for is end date. So the end date is in the cell H2, which is 20th of December 2025. So we click on the cell H2, and then the next thing is put a comma, and then the next thing is start date. So we already have the start date at our G2 as 3rd of January 2022. So I click on that as well, and then you close the bracket, press enter. So the number of the working days, as you can see, is 1,447 days between 3rd of January 2022 and 20th of December 2025. So you know that if it's a product, the number of days for this product life cycle is actually going to be this day. Now let's look at the network day. If it has to do with a contract that has been given out, and you want to know the number of days, excluding holidays and weekend, that the employee is going to work, okay, before their days is over with the organization. So you can go ahead as well, and then you do equals to, and then we type network. You can see when I start typing, I double click, and then I'm going to put start date. Now take note, when it comes to days, it's asking us to type with end date, but this time around start date. So just go ahead and put the start date. The start date is at G2, and I put comma, and then you put the end date, and then you go ahead and close the bracket, ignore the other value there for now, and you press enter. Now you can see the number of days, excluding the holidays and weekend, between those two dates, 20th December to 3rd of January 2022, is actually 1,035 days. So that is what network or days formulas are being used for. So depending on what you are doing, that will help you to know which one to use. Now let's go to the fifth formula, which is substitute. Substitute. In this formula right here, when I'm done working with this, I'm going to give you a task. I'd like you to just put your hand on the system and see whether you are able to do it. But before then, let me show you what is substitute formula all about. Now, some people know about replace, okay? We have what we call substitute or replace. Now, depending on, I don't know, whatever you have been used to, and if you have not used any one of them before, I'm just going to focus on substitute. But let me just talk about this. Replace and substitute functions are very similar, okay? But the substitute function substitutes at multiple positions, while replace just on a single position. But what the replace can do, substitute can do better. So that's why I'm just focusing on substitute formula in this particular scenario here. And we are going to see how it works. What do we use the substitute formula for? This is a very useful trick. Okay, it's ID for updating the cell in bulk. If you have cell, like you can see on this G colon right here, this G colon where we have the website address. Look at what we have. We have www, supposed to be, but now it's wwt. Remember, we've talked about that you fetch data from different sources, okay? And as a result of that, you can have error in your data, and there is a need to clean up the data before the data will be useful. Now, you have gathered data from various sources, and in the process of inputting the data, there was an error. Somebody has already typed wwt instead of www for the website address. Now, you want to correct that because you cannot go ahead and work with this data and analyze it because of this error. We want to remove the T, okay? We want to remove the T from this particular website address where we have wwt to www. We want to replace the T with W. So that's what you are going to be doing. You are substituting You can also, it's not, I'm just using it as example. There are, as far as character is concerned, you can use the substitute to substitute space, underscore. It could be anything, okay, that you want to substitute. So, but this time around, we are going to do this with T. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is to come over here, and then let's start with substitute. You remember, you start with equals to, then you type sub, and then you see the option, double click on it, and then take a look. What do you have to do? The text. So what is the text that we want to actually work upon? The cell address that contain the content. So this time around, I'm working on G2. Right, I'm done. Old text. What is the old text? The whole text that we have there is, we put the comma, okay? And then after you put the comma, the next thing you are going to do, what is the old text? The old text is T. That's the current text that you have there. That's what it's referring to as the old text. Remember, that is a character. Then you're going to put exclamation, a quotation mark. I'm going to say, I want to remove T. Please remember, be case sensitive because we are substituting a lowercase. So don't type an uppercase there. Okay, this is the old text, and then I put this. Then it's asking me for the new text. I want W. So I'm going to also do this W. Okay, I have W there. Now, the next thing you have here is instant number. Now, this is very important, and I like you to pay attention to this. The first instant, that is if I put 1 here, okay, let me put a comma, and I put 1. It means that I'm substituting only the first instant, which is because in this cell, right, this text that we have here, you can see that we are removing T, but T appear more than one place in this text. You have WWT, and then we have another T for data. So before, the data, if I don't put the instant, what substitute we do is to replace all the T with W in this text. So we are going to try that. Let me try that first. I'm not going to put instant. I just put, I close it and then see what happens. Now, the first T that we have here has been replaced with W. Then data has been replaced with W as DEWA. That is an error. So that is why you need to pay attention to that. So I'm going to double click on this formula again, and I come over here. So I do this. If I want to substitute only the first instance, so I'm going to put 1. So that means the first place that exists the T, that is where it's going to substitute it. Other T that appear in that text will not be affected. So if I put 2, it means that it's going to substitute 2 instances. So it depends on the number of instances where there is the repetition of that error. So you pay attention to that. So I only want to substitute only the first one here. Data is okay. I don't want to substitute the T in the WW at the same as well as the one in the data, only in the one with WWT. So I just put 1 instance and I go ahead and press enter. So you can see right now I have it as only at the first instance being substituted. So I can just go ahead and then repeat this for every other value that you have there, and you autofill, and then you're going to have it corrected. So you can now go ahead and analyze your data. Ignoring this, you can hide it. You can okay, if you want to hide it from the data set so that you only work with the H column, that is how to go about it. So that's how to use the substitute. Now, this is what I want you to try, okay? Lay your hand on this and try whether you are able to do it. I want you to replace the underscore with space here, because this software engineer is supposed to be space, not underscore. So let's say you have a data that has captured the employee designation, employee title with underscore, and then you want to replace the underscore with space. Just try it, and then if you are able to do it, then let me know in the comment section. And if you face any challenge, you do that as well, let me know. Remember, I've said it that it is very important for you to lay your hand. That is the only proof that you are actually learning and you know it. Now, the 6th formula that we are going to be talking about is MINIFS and MAXIFS. Okay, remember that initially when I was talking about len, I actually discussed minimum and maximum. that you can use it to know the minimum value, you can use it to know the maximum. Now, having done SUMIF, you should be able to have a better understanding of what MINIFS and MAXIFS is all about. That is also conditional. Minimum if a certain condition is met, maximum if a certain condition is met. It is as simple as that. So now what this one is going to do is to sort the value, okay, and then give you the output based on the condition that you specify. That is what MINIF or MAXIF is all about. Now, if you are going to do that, for example, on this value, you want to know the minimum salary for, let's say, probably we want to know, we have employee designation, or from the employee team, you can use any one of these. You want to know who is actually earning the minimum or who is earning the maximum salary based on the department, not just minimum salary based on the general scenario that we have over here. So you can actually use that to do that. Now let's go ahead and just try that. Remember, you go over and type min. Okay, you can see MINIFS. So double click that. So min range, the minimum range, you're going to specify the criteria range 1, and then let's try this MINIFS. Okay, so minimum range. Let's get started with this. We'll specify the minimum range, the minimum from here. Okay, and then you put in criteria range. So these are criteria range, or you can use this as a criteria range. So let's go ahead and use, because we have used the employee team, employee designation as a criteria range. So put your comma. So what is the criteria? Data analyst. That's the criteria that we want to use. So I go ahead and just type data space analyst. Okay. And then I go ahead and close that, and then close my bracket and press enter. So now from here, now you can see the minimum salary that the data analyst is earning here is actually 57,000 euros. So that's the minimum. But instead of using data analyst as a criteria, we might decide to use a name, or let's use employee code, so that we want to know, okay, the employee code of department. So depending on whatever situation you want to use. So now let's try with another data analyst. So now let's say that we want to know for the MINIFS and MAXIF, we want to know who is actually, because we have different employee designation here, then the employee team and the employee salary. What's the minimum salary that's being earned by a data analyst in this organization? What's the maximum salary that's being earned by a data analyst? So it can be any condition. Like I said, when you have the ifs added to a formula in Microsoft Excel, what it's telling you that there is a condition. Okay, it's not direct like the main that we have used earlier on, or the mass. We can use that one, the main and the mass that we have actually used earlier on, to sort to know the lowest, and the highest from the general data set. But this time around, we are being specific from a team, from the designation we want to know. So that's when the condition comes in. So we're going to calculate right now minimum salary for data analyst. It can be for any department, and it doesn't need to be what I am doing directly here. I'm just using this as an example. So you come over here and put your equals to, right? Then you type min. When you start typing, remember Excel is going to give you that. So what's the minimum range? We start from the range at the top. Okay, so you start from the top and just highlight all the range that we have. Okay, up to, that's F what? F4. Is that it? No, let me see. No, we are not starting from the top. So please don't make that mistake. We're supposed to start from F2 to F, F2 to F25. That's my data set. So I can actually delete that from here. I just change it to F2 to F25. So that's my data range. And then I click on comma. The next thing is criteria range. So I want to use the criteria of employee designation. So that is going to be from D2 as well. I do D2 to D25. Okay, so I've selected the two columns, the criteria. So what's the criteria? I want to know for data analyst, what's the minimum salary that is being earned? So I can go ahead and just type. Remember, data analyst is a text. So I'm going to put it in quotation and just type data analyst. Okay, so then you go ahead and close the bracket. enter. Come on. Oh, what's the error? You can see I did not put the quotation after the data analyst before I press the enter. So Excel is telling me we find a typo in your formula and try to correct it too. Oh, that's great. So Excel has gone ahead and just correct that for me. Do you want to accept the correction? Take a look at it. This is what I missed. The quotation is there. So I want to accept. That's fine. Thank you for doing that for me. So that's fine. So you can see the minimum salary is 57,000 euro. Let's go ahead and calculate for MAXIFS. Okay, so if I'm working with this, I can actually copy this formula and put it here, and then I will edit it from the formula bar in order to save a lot of time for me. So this is what I mean. I can copy and then I paste it here. So I will come over here. I can just change it to Max. Okay, MAXIFS. All right. So I just change it to MAXIFS. So which is what I have here. Yeah, so I don't need to start doing all of the, come on, so MAXIFS. So just correct it, whatever error you notice there. And then, okay, that's fine. So I press enter. Yeah, so you can see now the maximum for data analysis is 63,000 euro, while the minimum is actually 57,000 euros. So you can actually go ahead and then use this to, you know, sort out and know the minimum based on certain criteria. So if you want to actually know based on the general employee who is earning the maximum, irrespective of their department, whether they are data analysts or they are, you know, business developer, you know, the lead associate or whatever, that one you just go ahead and just use min. That's all. You don't need to actually add a condition, and that is what we have actually done initially. So you go over and do min, and that's a straightforward formula, and then you select the value from what F2, okay, column F25. So up to the end of your data set, and then you click enter. So you can see that the minimum salary in the organization is actually 55,000. So this guy with data earning the minimum salary as a data is not the one earning the lowest salary in the organization. The maximum salary as well, you can actually determine that by using the same formula. So that is how to use the min, ifs, and then the max if as a formula in data analyst. Hope that is clear. Now let's go to the seventh one, the trim function, the trim formula. Okay, we use the trim to remove unwanted spaces in order for data analysts to be able to analyze correctly. Now, you know, very often you need to clean up the data. If you don't clean up the data, you might end up getting a series of errors. As a matter of fact, your report at the end of the day cannot be relied upon. And if your report cannot be relied upon, it means that it cannot be used to be able to make a decision for the organization. That's why we said in that lesson, that's a matter of fact, a data analyst spends 60% of their time cleaning up the data, because if the data is not clean up, if the data is not okay, it's garbage in, garbage out. Whatever data you are using to be able, you know, to plot, okay, that is exactly what you are going to get. So it's important to spend time in cleaning up the data before you go ahead and analyze the data, and then you are able to present it to the management for a decision. So that's why we are spending a lot of time, and I'm taking it a little bit slowly for you to understand and know how to do all of this. Now let's look at this and see the importance of trim in one of the value that we have here. Now let's say that we want to join the column A and column B, first name and the last name. We have done that initially, so I'm not going to waste time in doing that. Let me just go ahead and do concatenate. Okay, I want to use concatenate function right now to join that. Remember the test one I want to join. I want to join Bruna, okay, and then I put colon. Remember, we are going to put space so that the name was going to have the space between the first and the last name. So we do, okay, I put the column for space, and then I put the column, and then the test 2 that I want to join is B2. So I close my bracket, I press enter. What did you notice right here? There's multiple, I only put single space, whereas I'm having multiple spaces over here in the output. The reason is because there is a space. Okay, look at it. If I click on the Bruna, how do I know there is a space? Now I'm not supposed to have this space over here. if I put my cursor, you can see that means I have how many space? 1, 2, 3. That's 3 spaces after Brunner. What about Emmanuel? Do I have any space? 1, 2. So there is no space after Emmanuel. So that means from this data set, there is space, okay? An empty space has been added that is not supposed to be there. So I need to clean it up by removing that space. Otherwise, I'm going to be having issue with my data. So that's the essence of trim. You can use trim to remove space. So I can go ahead and trim the column for the first name that has the extra space before now using my concatenate to combine the data. So that's what trim is being used for, and that is what it's all about. So I can just go ahead and do equals to then trim. Okay, it's as simple as that. If I double click on this, it's asking me which text do I want to trim. I just put A2 and then I click OK. So I press enter. Now you can see. Okay, now this data has been trimmed right now. So I can just go ahead and do auto, sum for every other thing. I mean auto fill, so that I trim every other data that I have there. So if I go ahead right now and I use the same formula concatenate, I'm going to use it with what I have in G2 to add to the last name. And this time around, I'm not going to have that error. So can we try that? And you see what I'm talking about. Equals to concatenate. So I go ahead and type concatenate over here. And I'm going to pick the first cell. Let's say we are using Brunner again. And I put the space again. I put the space, the column, the single space that's supposed to be there. And I put the second value, Emmanuel, and I close and I do this. Now you can see I have a single space compared to what I have initially with multiple spaces, because the data I'm using now has been trimmed and I've removed extra spaces that I have in that particular data set. So that is what trim is actually being used for. So from my list, the number 8 formula, the number 8 exact formula every data analyst should know is COUNTIFS. COUNTIFS. So let's quickly look at COUNTIFS. Okay, the COUNTIFS formula count the number, how many times a value appear based on one criteria. Okay, COUNTIFS. That formula counts the number of times a value appear based on one criteria. So I believe that if you have done Excel before now, like I said, you know about count is one of the formula in Microsoft Excel. And if you are not familiar with that, please just check the description section of this video like I've been saying and watch the Microsoft Excel training that I have done for you to learn all the basic formulas that I've been discussing in Microsoft Excel. So now the COUNTIFS has to do with criteria, just like we've talked about MINIFS, MAXIFS, and SUMIF that we have done earlier on today. So it's very similar, and then you should be familiar with how to go about that. Now, let's look at it in this way. We want to actually look at software engineer, and then the department, let's say engineering, want to look at employee designation, then the employee team, where they appear together. We want to count the number of times where such appear together. Okay, that is the example we are going to use right now. So what I'm going to do right here, let's do it over here. We are going to return the value, the answer, into the cell F26, right? So as usual, you go over with equals to, right? That's the first thing you are going to type. And then you are going to type count. Okay, remember when you start typing Excel, we give you the suggestion, then I double click, COUNTIFS. Okay, COUNTIFS. Or I can actually use COUNTIF here as well. You are going to get the same result because I only have one criteria. So we are going to go ahead now and do COUNTIFS. So COUNTIFS, now this is the syntax, the criteria range. So we're going to go over the criteria range and highlight the entire range. The criteria range is actually the D column. That is employee designation. Okay, so I'm going to highlight the whole of that. And then I move into comma. The next thing is criteria. The criteria from this criteria range is actually that we can use anyone. So let me go ahead and just type software engineer as actually said. Remember, this is a string. So because it's a test value, it has to be in quotation. Excuse me, that's a software engineer. So software engineer. Then I close that. Then I put comma criteria range 2. Remember, we are using COUNTIFS, so we are going to have multiple criteria. If it is COUNTIF, I can just go ahead with one criteria and then select the value. So this time around, I'll highlight the okay. So now I put the comma from the syntax. The next thing is criteria 2. So the criteria 2 we are looking at is engineering. So that is going to be in quotation as well. So I go ahead and type the engineering and then I close the bracket. So the next thing is to press enter. So how many times did software engineer appear as a member of engineering team? That is exactly what we have here, 8 times. So you can actually lay your hand on the system right now and try for data analyst and then try with production. How many times did that appear? So this is how to use COUNTIFS. Now the next one we are going to look at is left and right. Okay, this formula is actually looking alike in the sense that we use the left to extract the leftmost value. Okay, that's the left. You start also with equals to the left formula. Both of them are just a formula that we use to get data out of static cell. Left return the desired number of character from the beginning of the cell, while the right will do just the opposite. So if I want to extract the first 3 number, maybe from a phone number, I want to extract the country code. We need that in a column, just the country code. I can use left to do that. Okay, if it is the last 4 digits of a particular number or area code I want to extract, then I can use the right to do that. So if I want to extract all the mask number here, which is XSS, okay, I can actually use the right to do that. If I want to extract just the country code or area code, okay, that's the first 3. I can use left to do that. So that's what left and right formulas are being used for in Microsoft Excel, which is also very important for you as a data analyst. So let's try and extract area code from here. What we are going to do now is very simple. Go over to equals to. We're going to return the answer in the H column. So I will type left, right, left. Then I double click and then we're going to have criteria, the cell. So just click on the cell G, G2. Then I put comma, the number of character that I want to extract. Now you can see from here, how many character do we have as an area code? This is just 3001, okay? So, and with this value we have the same number of area code for all the phone numbers that we have here. So that means we are going to just put 3 here and then I close the bracket, I press enter. Now I've extracted the area code. So you can just go ahead and use your autofill. You get all the area code from the phone number here. You can also do the right? I'm going to leave this for you as well to be a practical session that you can lay your hand on. So do the right and extract all the XXXXX that we have in this phone number. Use the right formula to do that. And then if you have any challenge regarding that, drop that in the comment section. Now, the last but not the least that we are going to be covering in these 10 Excel formulas every data analyst should know is VLOOKUP. Now, if you have been following from the first formula that we discussed in this lesson today, which is concatenate, that is great. I give you a thumbs up for doing that. However, don't forget to go ahead and give me a like on this video as well, and then share it with people as we go ahead and discuss the last one right now. VLOOKUP. Honestly, you have done well, and I believe that your Excel skill has been enhanced so far in this lesson today. Now, the 10th one is VLOOKUP. What is VLOOKUP all about? It allows you to look up data that is arranged in vertical columns. Okay, for example, you can have the month of the year in a vertical column. You have the profit made in each of the months in another column. So on on a snapshot, you just want to look at what is the profit for the month of February. You don't need to start looking at the entire sheet. Okay, you can use the VLOOKUP formula if it has been already set up, and you can just type the month, January or maybe March. Then you are going to get the corresponding profit for that month. So that is what VLOOKUP is all about. Now, the V in VLOOKUP stands for vertical, indicating it searches vertically downward in a table. Okay, it searches downward vertically. We also have what we call HLOOKUP, that's horizontal lookup, but that is not what we are discussing in this lesson right now. Our focus is VLOOKUP. So that is what the VLOOKUP is all about. Now, let's jump at it. The first thing you need to realize is that once you put in your formula and you have done your VLOOKUP, don't tamper with the table, with your data. Okay, that is very important. And then you must ensure that the value you are looking up is actually towards the left side of the column. Okay, it's on the left side. We are going to be demonstrating that right now, and then you are going to see. Now, let's do it in this way. We are going to be looking for employee code. Assuming that we have thousands of employees, and then you just at a glance want to know the salary of a particular employee. Maybe you find the ID card or you have the employee code, and then at a snapshot you just want to know what's the salary, or you want to even know the department. So you can do that. That's the advantage of VLOOKUP. It helps you to be able to pick up just exactly what you are looking for from a large data set, okay, without scrolling up and down the entire data set, or without using the search. You have to then start searching the entire Excel sheet or sheets, as the case may be, before you are able to find the answer. Now, employee code, for example, right now. Let's look at it this way. We want to configure, we want to set up the VLOOKUP to be able to look up any of the employee code here. So we're going to come over to J. Let's have our formula in J4. Okay, and they say J4. As usual, what we're going to do right now is to do equals to. Let's look at the syntax for VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP. Okay, then I'm going to double click the suggestion. Then this is the syntax. So we're going to follow this syntax right now to do it together. Look up value. What value are we looking up? The value we are going to be looking up is going to be on J3. Okay, so I'm going to click on J3. This is telling me that the value I'll be looking up is actually the employee code. So it doesn't matter whether it's employee code as far as this configuration is concerned here, or software, employee designation, or team. What you are going to do, where you are going to be typing what you are looking for or looking up to, you are searching the value, that's the cell address. Right now, in my own case, I'm using J3. I'm going to be typing the employee code here, and I want the result, the employee salary, the result to come over to J4. That is where we are putting the formula now. So I'll put comma. The next thing is the table array. Now, this is very, very important. So, like I said, you have to select the table that are leftmost to the column that you are looking up, okay? So, I'm looking up for employee code, and then I can look up for any of this, all right? Any of this value, as long as they are at the left side of my lookup value. So, I'm just going to select the entire table right now. I'll start from here. Okay, so because the leftmost value in the table, I will highlight the entire table. Remember that you have to do that. This is from C2 to F25. No matter how big your data set is, you need to specify the range from the beginning to the end. So, like I've said earlier on, if you cannot do the highlight like this, just know the first cell, know the last cell, and then you use the column C2, column F25, then you are there. Next, you press your comma. Now, the next thing in the index now is the column index number. So, what is the index number? The column index number that I'm looking for. The lookup value that I want to look out for is actually the employee. Okay, so now that's the lookup value. I'll be looking up for employee code. What exactly am I looking at? What exactly am I looking for? I'm looking for the employee salary that matches the employee code that I want to look out for. So in that case, I'm going to count the number of columns where the employee salary is. So the column 1 from our table, I'm not going to start from A, B, okay? I'm not going to count the first name, the last name, because as a matter of fact, I didn't select them together because my table, this is just what I need for this job. So I'm going to actually go ahead and do so column C is 1, index number 1. Column D is index number 2, employee designation. Employee team is index number 3, and then employee salary is index number 4. So I want to look out for the employee salary. And it's in the column index number 4. Remember how we got to this number 4? Okay, from our table, from the selection of our table. Okay, employee code is column 1. All right, don't bother about the first name and the last name because they were not part of the selected table. I hope that is clear. They were not part, even though they are part of my worksheet. Okay, but they are not part of the table that I have selected. They are not part of the table array. So that's why I'm not starting counting the column number, the index number from first name. This will have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that will have been the case. But right now, I'm going to start from here. So this is 1, employee code. Employee designation column is index 2. Employee team is 3. And then I'm looking for salary, that would be 4. If I'm looking for employee department, instead that matches the employee code, that means I will use, employee team, I'm going to use column index number 3. So this will have been number 3. But in this case now, this is my index number 1. This is 2, and then this is 3, and then this is 4 because I want to look out for the salary. I hope that is clear. So then we go over now. We've talked about that. So after putting out the index number as 4, the next thing you are going to do right now, put your comma. Now you have another option here, true or false. That is very important. So when we talk about, you are need to determine whether the lookup should return the exact match or approximately match of the value you are looking for. So that is what the true or false. Now, if I choose true, it will return an approximately value. If I choose false, it will return the exact value. In this case now, we want exact. There is no approximation. If I say employee 005, I need to know the exact salary. Okay, there is no approximation in the result I want to get. So in that case, I'm going to type false. So, and then I close, right? And then I press enter. So this is telling me not available because I have not actually put any employee code. So that's why you are seeing the output as not available as error. So let's go ahead and just try that. Put employee, maybe you just put an employee code 001. I press enter. You see 65. Now let's try on 22. Okay. So let's go ahead and try with maybe 22. Okay. So I come over to employee code. I can change it to 022 or 020, 63,000. You can check your table. You can see this is employee code 22, and then this is 63,000 euro. So that's actually how it is. If you pick up any employee code here and you put in the data, you are easily going to find what exact salary is for that employee. So this is employee code 09 right now. You can see from here, that's this row number 10, 58,000. So that's what VLOOKUP is all about, and that's what it's used to do. It's a very useful tool when you have a large data set and you quickly want to check the result. As a matter of fact, if you are doing a data analysis for maybe a company that does sales, a pharmaceutical company, you quickly want to check the price of a particular product, you can easily just go to your screen and just type the name of that product, depending on how the system is configured. Okay, so this can be done in a better and in a larger scale. All right, so this is just going to give you a picture of what and how much you can do with Microsoft Excel formula. Now, there are many analysis tools available within specific programming language. Like I said, SQL, you have a lot of analysis there. Python, you can do a lot with that as well. But Excel is a popular choice when analyzing relatively small amount of data. So that is why we've been talking about that, and it's also the beginners friendly. Because if you don't know how to use Excel and you want to just jump straight to SQL or you want to jump to Python, you might not find it interesting. So Excel is relatively good for a small amount of data. And the 10 formulas we have covered so far represent the tips of the icebergs in terms of what you can do with Microsoft Excel. Those people in our pro class will have more opportunity to learn more things, okay, because Excel is wider than what we have covered so far. There are so many other functions and formula that we have in Microsoft Excel. So, but what we have done so far has given you a taste of the kind of power you can yield as a data analyst if you understand what we have discussed so far and you are able to replicate everything that I've discussed with you in this training. Now, before I drop the curtain today, if you'd like to join our pro class where you are going to learn, okay, you are going to have a live session with me, one-on-one basis, then check the description section of this video. You're going to see all the details of how you can actually get registered to be able to do that, or look at the number on the screen right now and then you can drop a message on the WhatsApp. I want to appreciate you for taking your learning journey with Flourish ICT Academy. I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye.